Hey, Pam, are you there? Pam, are you there? Hello.
Hello. Hello. How are you?
Good. So hopefully I haven't messed it up by getting on, but I did share screen and everything.
Awesome. Cool beans. I'm going to open the chat and put the handout in the chat.
Okay.
Hi, how are you?
Is this where you have your class?
It is. Come on in. Just getting everything set up for the Zoom. There's a handout on the desk right there.
Oh, Family Search for so long. I went on there a couple of months ago and I hardly recognized.
Wait till you see me teach the class.
I don't recognize that either. Are there 2 pages?
Yeah, there's 2 pages. Sorry. Well, no, it's a matter of I pull up the handout from the last time I taught the class and I'm going through it and I'm like, oh, that's changed. That's changed. That's changed. Oh, too fun.
Too fun.
Got just a couple minutes before class starts. I'm trying to think what I was gonna do with my phone. I picked it up for some reason.
Hello?
Hello? I'm gonna turn my volume up.
No. Okay. Nope. Okay. Oh, where you at? Short text. All right.
Hi, in here.
I'm gonna, because I forgot to get out a class line sheet. We'll just use this volunteer one.
So I won't make you do stuff, even though you're signing the volunteer sheet, but I might
don't
save
do
it for later.
Windows. I don't do Windows. Getting so I don't do much.
my daughter said her friend
His name.
she
or-
name, it's not your first time because you were here yesterday or Saturday. Yeah, that works.
Okay.
Just name. Anyway, my daughter was at her friend's house and she said, yeah, her friend had to be out in they have a little living area in their big garage thing. She had to be out there most of the morning because the house is getting cleaned. And we thought, oh, that's a good idea. Send your kids out to the garage while you clean the house. She said, no, Mom, she has someone come in. And no one, like, oh, okay. Foreign concept.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so I'm gonna share my screen. It looks like we're just about time to start.
I had somebody in our house once and I was allergic to everything we used.
Well, and my thing is, I worry about them seeing my dirty house, so I walk around
Right,
and
cleaning the
clean
house
it
before we
anyway.
get there.
Yep. Okay, so we're gonna share that screen. And close that. Do you need a light out up here? Is it hard to see? Why don't I turn the light out by
My
the screen?
magnifier isn't
Working?
doing the, well, it was.
Do you need to be closer?
That's okay. As long as the handout is
Somewhat accurate.
good. I can do it.
Okay, I'm probably gonna close the door. Okay. All right. So today's class is on Family Search Records. Before we start, we're going to have an opening prayer, and I'm going to see if Tammy would do that for us. Is that okay, Tammy? She's got her mic off right now.
It is
There we
okay.
go.
Thank you for asking.
You're welcome.
Our Heavenly Father, we come before thee this day and so grateful for the opportunity to learn this day. Grateful for Pam and her willingness to teach and to share her knowledge on Family Search today. We pray that we may, those of us that are listening, that we may understand and learn and ask good questions. We are grateful for the Family History Center and for the opportunity to learn how to find those that we love on the other side. This we so pray in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. I need all the help I can get. So we're going to cover the records portion of Family Search. A lot of times everything in Family Search gets lumped together, but there's really very different parts to Family Search. And if you don't have an account to Family Search, I would very much recommend getting one. They're free, but it gives you a little more access to some of the information that is on Family Search by having a free account. Okay. So I'm just going to sign into mine. If you're at home, you can do this signed in for 2 weeks, which is nice because then it remembers your username and password. But if you're on a public device, you don't want to do that. And when you sign in, it will tell you, or sorry, it will have you sign in. And if you don't do anything for like 20 minutes, it kicks you off just because it doesn't want anyone to come in behind you and kind of go through your stuff. So if you leave it for a while and you come back, it'll ask you to sign in again. So we have the tree portion, which is a worldwide collaborative tree where you can put names and dates of family and connect relationships. Then we have the search section, which is where you can access the documents that Family Search has. Then you have the memories section where you add pictures and stories and documents to people. You have get involved where you can volunteer to do indexing, activities or different ideas to help you interact in the tree. Like they have compare face where you take a picture of yourself and you compare it to what your relatives look like. And I always end up getting, well, most people end up getting compared to someone of the opposite sex. I don't know why, it just happens that way. But let's see. And then, so we're gonna go to search, and there's even different parts in search. So records are the information that has been indexed off of images and documents. So it's one that's, we type in the name or a a date or something, and it'll use that information and search what's already been recorded. Images are not necessarily indexed. So it's a digitized version of microfilms, fiche, different digital images of resources. So the church has stopped microfilming when they go out, because the church still goes out to all different genealogical societies, libraries, places that hold records, and they take pictures of those records that they then can give us access to. But they used to put them on microfilm, and they don't do that anymore. They're digital versions. So there might be stuff in images that is not yet in the catalog because the image has been taken. It just hasn't been put where it's going to be. Let's see, family tree takes you back to the worldwide tree. Genealogies are things that are submitted by people, different genealogies that have been submitted by people. They also have kind of collaborations. So there's a person who I can't remember his name right now because it's not the genealogies class, but he has gone through and done genealogies of Jewish families to try and preserve that information. And he's made a collection of it. Then the catalog is like a library catalog, the things that are held at the Family History Center. Some of them are digitized and we can access them from here. Some of them are not digitized yet. All of the films have been digitized, but aren't necessarily on there yet. And some of the books have been digitized, but not all. So there's little icons that'll tell you, what's there, what's not. And then if it's not there, it's a road trip party. So books are various books that have been digitized and are available. And then the research wiki is kind of like a huge locality guide. You can go to a certain place and it'll tell you the records that are kept for that place, when they started, if they were damaged, different historical things about that location. And in addition to that, on the wiki, you can search how to do different genealogy things, like how to fill out a family group sheet, different things like that. And also events like Civil War. If you want to learn about Civil War records, you can type that in and it'll tell you kind of what ones were kept and where they are. So it's really helpful. We're going to concentrate on records today. So that's the stuff that has been indexed and in a database form. So a record is an original image or set of indexed information, and the records are organized in collections. So actually, I'm going to go to the tree first, and we'll go from a person first. So we'll pick someone on our tree.
Oh.
Let's go to Joseph. And we're going to go to his sources first. We'll view this source. So this is a record collection, the United States 1860 census. Let's see what else he has. United States Western States Marriage Index. Here's a good one. Idaho Birth Index, 1861 to 1911. So you'll see the title of the collection, what it is. In this case, it's a birth index. It's in Idaho, and these are the date ranges. And those are important things to look at, because if I were to search for his grandpa probably wouldn't fit in this time range in this collection. So that's not a collection I would use. So it would kind of rule him out from being in that collection. Okay, so we're going to go back to his details. So effective research starts with a little preparation. First, you want to review what you know. You want to review what others have shared. And That beautiful tree we just saw was not my doing. It was the work of a lot of my relatives. Decide on the record, what information is on the record. So if we go through here, we can see it has his birth, his death, his burial. It has other details. It has who he married, his children, his parents, their children, which are his brothers and sisters. And he and Nettie did not have any children together. So it's just the two of them. I thought I better double check that before I finish the sentence. So knowing their names helps us when we go to a record to say, yes, this is them. So if we went to a census record and it was for a Joseph W. Hatch, and he was born about 1860 on the census record, but his siblings were Washington Lee Hatch and Permilla Hatch. Those aren't showing up as his siblings, so that census record probably isn't him. But if the siblings were Ira, Emma, Rose, then that is most likely him on that census record. So by being aware of some of the names in his family, when we get to a record, it's going to help us decide if that record is them. And then you want to look for something that's missing. So you would go to the sources. I'm going to minimize this one. So you have a big list of sources. Sometimes they're not in order. They're all out of order. But if you click on this options, you can put them in chronological. Oh, let's pretend I said it right. You can put it, thank you, in chronological order just by clicking on that. These ones, however, are already in there. I probably picked a bad example because he has a lot of sources. We can see he has the 1860, 1870, 1880, and so forth. So he's got quite the timeline going for him. But you would look at something that's missing. Sometimes you'll see these that don't have a date. But you can look at the image. This is him being mentioned in JL's obituary. So this happened in 48. So we can go back up here and do add and 1948. So then when we do that, it puts it in chronological order of where it should have been. Another way to kind of view a timeline for someone is a second menu item called timeline. That's a Captain Obvious term. So we're going to timeline to look at the timeline. And you can choose what's shown in the timeline. You can have the siblings, parents, and the couple and their children, all of their events on the timeline. And then these other events for the person. It also includes historical things that are happening about the time they were born. So this is good to review before you start your search. Okay. So in FamilySearch, up on the upper right-hand side, so we're in part of the tree right now and we want to go to the record section. We're at a specific person and we can click on FamilySearch and it takes all of the details from that person's information and puts them over here in the search criteria for the records, including alternate names, birth, marriage, death. All that information is transferred over for you. And then it has a little link back here to the person to help you remember who you came from when you did the search. Okay. So then you can review your results. We're going to kind of go over the other options in just a minute, but I wanted to show you how to get to this, do the search from the person page. The other way you would do a search for someone is by name. So we're going to click on records. And this is kind of a blank canvas. So this is where we enter in the details and then do our search. If you click on more options, it opens up more information that you can add for the person. So let's do Thomas Deuce. And his birth, I know, was in England. And I'm not 100%, so I'm going to put 1830 to 1850 is when I think he was born. Usually when I search for someone, I use less details, and then I narrow once I'm within the search results. So let's say we're looking for his birth record. I believe he was born in England somewhere between 1830 and 1850. And I'm going to use just that to search. Other details I could have used are marriage, residence, death information, or if I knew who his spouse was, or father or mother. Those are other things that I can put in there also. The reason we do a range on the date is sometimes they lied about their age. And a lot of documents, their birth is calculated off the age they gave on that document. So for all census record, well, from 1850 till now, sorry, 1850 to 1950, all of them are by age except for 1900. So the census taker just asked how old they were. And then when they were indexed, the age was calculated from what they gave as their age. So depending on if they had their birthday or not, it could be 1 or 2 years off. And depending on if they told the correct age or even knew the correct age, because sometimes the people answering might not have known the correct age. I actually gave my husband's wrong birthday on the 2010 census. Anyway. So we're going to do a range, and we'll go down here. We don't want it to be exact results, so we're going to do a search. So here we have a Thomas Deuce born in 45, Thomas Arnold. He's not the Thomas Deuce I'm looking for, so I'm going to narrow it to baptism, christening. Usually it comes up with a whole bunch of different kinds of records. So then I was going to say we're going to narrow it to births. Over here under type, you can narrow it to what type of record, but it looks like a lot of them are birth records anyway. And my Thomas, I know, was born in Derby, England. So as I scroll down, I can see Thomas Deuce, 1846, Derby, Derbyshire, England. This is from the birth, marriage, death registry in England, which usually only gives the quarter of the year they were born in. So they have the 4 quarters, that 3-month period. It will tell you a 3-month period in which your ancestor was born. So if we click on the Derby one, we can see it's already attached to someone in the tree. And when you click on that, it shows you who it's attached to. And this is my husband's great-grandfather. And we can see that he could have been born in July, August, or September of 1846 and where it was located. So to get back to my search criteria, just going to move that. I can click the X and it'll bring back up the criteria that I searched with. So let's say we wanted to look for a marriage record for him instead. We can undo that and click on marriage and do a search. And we know he was in Derbyshire. So there's a whole bunch of marriages. Because there's more deuces over there than there are here. So now we're going to narrow it by, let's do marriage. And we'll do United Kingdom, England, and then Derbyshire, and apply. That didn't do us a lot of good. So we'll go away from that. Oh, because he's married in the United States. Whoops. So let's try that again. Oh, it's locked in on that one. So I'm going to get rid of birth. And we'll just do marriage. So if I change something over here in the criteria, I need to update it. Let me go back up here. Do marriage, United States, Utah. And I'll apply that because I'm not sure where. So here's his marriage that we were looking for. So I was able to narrow it through the filters to where I only had 14 results. And so it was easier for me to find the one that I'm looking for. Does that make sense? Cool. So we've kind of gone over all of those. Let's go back to, let's do one more because we want to filter by a collection. So let's say I now know Thomas was born about 1845 in England. Now I want to find a census record for him. So I'm not going to click on any of these yet. We're going to do Thomas Deuce. And we learned from the other record, it was about 1845. But since we're looking for a census record, it could be 2 years before, 2 years after, at least. So we'll do 43, 1847. And we know he was born in England. And we'll do search. And this time we're going to narrow by collection. So we're going to go over to type on collection, and over here where the criteria window was, the collections are organized by category. So birth, marriage, death, census and lists, migration and naturalization, other, and probate court. There are a couple more categories, but these are the only categories that it found results in. And so it found 28 there, 12, 5, 3, and 3. So we went to see all 12. So we could possibly see him on an 1851 census in England. Can't remember if he came before 61 or not. 1870, 1880. We'll do those and we're going to apply. So we have one in 1840 in Yorkshire, 1846. And here's one in Derby. So we want to look at the details. We can click on the name and it'll bring the details over here into the search criteria. He's 15. Esther, Eliza, Mary are the other people on the list. And for me, I'm not a huge fan of looking at the details in the small window on the side. So you can click on the little paper right here and it will bring it up as the main screen. And then you can see it a little better. So Thomas Deuce is 15 in 1861, tells where he's living. His occupation is being a boy. That's a good occupation to be. Let's see, his father is Henry. Hi, I thought I turned my phone off. It's the screaming goats. Okay, so I'm a little flustered. Okay, so his father is Henry, who's 51. His mother is Esther. He has a sister, Eliza, and a little sister, Mary. Over on this side, it gives us the document information. So when we click on this, it tells us where it can be found on the microfilms. And it has a link to that microfilm. The collection information is kind of cool. If you click on this link, it will let you search for other people within this collection. If you click on this link, it will take you to the wiki, and it'll tell you all about the collection and different information to help you understand how to read some of the documents in the collection. Okay. And then the citation for the record, if you're going to be sharing it outside of FamilySearch, you can copy the citation. Citation is pretty much just an address of how to get back to the document for someone that doesn't have a link. But within FamilySearch, we can attach it to the individual. So it's already attached to Thomas Deuce. We'll talk a little more about that in a minute. So on here, if there is an image, it is always good to look at the image. There might be additional information on there or neighbors. The neighbors that they had oftentimes are relatives or future relatives. For censuses in England, you can see the parish is crossed off. So this is the town of Litchurch. Sorry, parish of Litchurch, town of Derby, and then an ecclesiastical district. So it's like having 3 different names for the same place. Sometimes it would be good to write all those down somewhere, because sometimes the documents will have one name, sometimes they'll have another name, but they're actually the same spot. It depends on if you're looking at church records, state records. So this is the neighbor. This is where they lived. So you could Google where they lived and zoom in on it. It's probably not the same thing as it was now, but it'll give you an idea right where in town they lived. These are the children. And we can see there's an Alice there. And on the other thing, it had Mary. So that might need to be something that is corrected. Relationship to head of household. Their condition means whether or not they're married. The age of males and the age of females. What they do for an occupation. So he was formerly a teacher. No, formerly a something fitter. I'd have to zoom in real close for that. And then he was, it's hard to see what Thomas is. Probably have to take a printer boy. So he probably worked in a print shop. And then this is the where they were born, the parish they were born in. Okay, So if we can, we always want to look at the original image. Sometimes you might have to go to a different website to see the image. For like Find a Grave, it will have a little notation. The image will be, thumbnail will be blurry, and it'll have a notation, and you click on that and it will take you to Find a Grave, to the memorial page in Find a Grave. The West Virginia records are the same way. It's a link back to their records to see the original. Okay, so over here where it says attached, attached to, it's already attached to Thomas. If it wasn't attached to Thomas, it would have a little blue button that says attach. And when you click on it, you're going to get what's called a source linker. So the source linker brings up the information from the document and the information from the tree. And if it's new information, you can move it over. And then that record will be attached to them. We'll go over it a little more later. And then similar records are records that have been attached to him. So say I wanted to learn more about Mary. I can click on Mary and she'll now become the focus of the document. I can see it's attached to her and there aren't any similar records for her. So if you want to learn about the other people in the house, you can just click on their names to switch. Cool. And then up here, you can save it to your source box. So a source box is just like online storage space. If I wasn't sure that this, hey, let's do Mary, because actually, I think her name's wrong. So I'm going to do Mary. And I want to look later and see if that's an error or if we're missing someone. So I don't necessarily want to attach it to her. I can put it in my source box and I can make a folder for that. Down here, create new folder. Oops. I pushed too many buttons. And I'm gonna, I know. Doesn't it know? Okay, maybe I just need to type. There we go. I just need to type. Nope. Introduce family, create new folder. That's the title, notes. Want to research Mary and Deuce or Alice Deuce on 1861 census. And then I can save that for later. To access that later, I would click on my name and go to source box. And that's going to bring up essentially my little virtual filing cabinet of documents that I've saved. You can also copy it or you can print it. If you need to edit something, like after I research it, if I find it should really be Mary, I can detach it and say that it's supposed to be Alice. And because what you're editing here is just the information that's been indexed off the record. But before I edit it, I would want to do more research. You can share it by email. You can copy the link. Like if you have Messenger open and you're visiting with your sibling or whatever, you could send the link through Messenger. And then they would click the link and it would bring them back to this page. All right, any questions so far? Okay.
Every time I start to have a question, you answer it. So
Hey, sweet. My mind reading capabilities are working this morning then. Let's see. So I think that's it for by name. I just realized I was I didn't have the right sheet up. We've gone through all of the little windows. So back to search. Does anyone have anything they want to search? Like a record, a specific record they've been looking for someone or want to find for someone? Do you guys know anyone on the 1950 census? No?
Yeah.
Okay.
Monty,
Monty?
one. And Osier, it's O-S-I-E-R.
Okay, go slow. Okay,
O-S-I-E-R.
there we go. So we're just going to search from there. And we're going to filter, we're going to use our filters. We see some on here already, his obituaries, some census records, but we want to find the 1951. So we go to collection, and then over here we would click for census records. And we have to scroll down for the United States. There we are. Oh, doesn't have the 1950 on. Oh, it's at the top. That's right. I'm like, what? And then we'll apply that collection. And there he is in Benewah County. Sweet.
I had made some corrections on siblings' names on Ancestry, but it's not on this.
Well, this is actually a new thing. You can view possible tree matches. So this little person icon, if you click on that, it will say, do these match up? So Monty D, and here someone has added him to the tree, 20th of March, 1945. And then as parent, Ruth D, formerly Ruth A. Dittman on the tree. So we could attach this to him. Would you like us to attach it to him?
Sure.
Perfect, because then we have a good example. So it already comes up with him lined up from the record to the tree. We can move residency over. And so that will show up on his page and his timeline when we look at those. And he was living in the same place the year before. We'll put shows. So this is just a little reason why it's attached. I'm going to put shows residency and family relationships. And over here, you can tag what it tells us about him. It does tell us his name, birth, and sex. Birth, it doesn't tell us the exact date, but pretty close. So you could take that off if you wanted something for exact. But I think it gets us pretty close. So we're going to do attach. And then when it's green, it means it's attached to him. If we did it in air and we needed to remove it, we could do detach and take it off. So then his brother Wayne is on here.
Must be weird. Yeah, it shows that.
Yeah, so on the
correction
record,
on
there's an error. And then on the tree, it says Wade. The birth date is about the same. And you know that's him. Were they twins?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. I saw that. I
Is
saw
that
that birth date and I thought, oh, that's the same, the one we
Any
just looked
way
at.
of, making it, I know on like 23andMe and Ancestry, I don't have a way of saying we were twins.
So you could do it in the notes.
Okay,
On Ancestry, you could create a tag and do it on a tag as a tag, and then it'll show right at. In fact, I think Ancestry might already have a tag for it under relationships.
okay.
So yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and add this information over. How cool. I thought my mind was just playing a trick
You
on
know,
me.
It gets real interesting when my cousins do ancestry tests. They think we're half.
Oh,
half
Have
siblings.
siblings because it's so close.
Yeah, well, they're a mirror image, so they were very
Wow,
identical.
that is so cool. Okay, so we've attached it to everyone on there that we can. And what this does is it helps verify the information that we put in. So it's less likely to get changed, and it helps others come and see the records that are there and learn a little more about them. Okay, so a marriage record is a good one for this. Let me see if we can find a marriage record for someone. Let's go back a little. Let's just do this. We'll reset. So I'm going to find a marriage record for, let's do Thomas Deuce again. For some reason, he's the only person I can remember today. And we know he was married in Utah because we just looked that one up. And let's do a search. So we're going to go to their marriage record. And we're going to bring up the source linker again. Oh, doesn't do it. So if it had the parents on the marriage record, so there's a lot of marriage records where the parents are listed for both people. We could attach the parents, but when the result comes up, it'll have the main person that we searched, in this case, Thomas Deuce, and it would list his parents, but not hers. But her parents would be down here as other people on the document. So to change the main person, you can click on here and you can have the wife, Eliza, be the main person. And then if her parents were on the record, they would show up here and you could attach them. Does that make sense?
You just click on change, right?
Yeah, so you click on change. It's when you have either, so that you have the parents from both sides on the same document, but the source linker shows you relationships. So if the main person is this child, these parents are going to be listed. So you switch it, the main person, to the other child, then the other parents are going to be listed and can be attached. It's the same way with generations. If you have grandchildren, parents, children, and grandchildren on the same census, you can line everyone up. You can attach the parents to each other. You can attach the children to each other. But when you want to attach the grandchild, you have to change it to the child who is the parent of the grandchild. So it doesn't go more than 2 generations at a time. So if there's 3 generations on the document, you need to change the focus person. Okay. All right. So now we're going to do by location. If we go to records again, to our main records page. We're going to skip the little search engine up there, and we're coming down to the map. And we click on the map, and then we can choose a location. So I want records. Let's do records in Idaho. Actually, let's go abroad. Let's do records in Sweden. So it's going to bring me up information for Swedish records. If I click on here, it's called a guided research, and it takes you to the wiki, and it asks you questions about what you want to look for, like birth, marriage, death. I clicked on it this morning because it's the first time I've seen them have that. I think it's still in progress. They're still perfecting it. If I were to look up information on how to search in the research wiki, I would just go to the research wiki and type in Sweden rather than use the link yet. I think I'll give them a little more time to perfect that. But over here, it has indexed historical records where we can enter information in, and these are the databases it'll search. And these are ones specific for Sweden. So you wouldn't be getting results from South Africa, but when you put your name in here, it's narrowed by the location of Sweden. And then you can do see all collections in case you want to search for a specific collection or just browse to see what's available. Then over here, we have the Learning Center. So if you're unsure about how to research a certain area or the handwriting, because documents in foreign languages can be kind of intimidating, but there's lessons on here that can help you learn, like Swedish jurisdictions, their records were kept by the church. So it's not necessarily the name of the town that you're looking for as much as it is the parish, the Lutheran church parish that you're looking for. So it has lessons on that. It's a great way to learn about the location that you want to search. We talked about genealogies before. These are ones that are submitted by people. Current indexing projects. So indexing is a volunteer program where people look at a document that's been digitized, but the information hasn't been taken off of it yet. And they have certain categories or questions, and they take the information from the document and type it in, and then it gets sent back to Salt Lake, and they create the database and add it to the big database. So that's how we get more and more records on every time. So these are index projects for that location. I like to do indexing for the locations that I'm searching, especially like Sweden, because then you get to understand the type of documents that they have. So when you index a Swedish birth record, there's a project information section that will tell you where to find everything on the document, what's being recorded, so that you learn what to look for when you're researching those documents. Then we have the image only section. So these are images that you can access, but they're not, they haven't been indexed, so they're not in the database. So the way that we would look through something like this is, I'm going to click on all of them. Let's go to Uppsala. And there are some that are indexed, but there are some that are not. So we click on the browse only, and then we would narrow it by location. Like I said, their records are through the Lutheran Church, so it's by parish. So then we would go to, let's go to Ramstad. And then these are the different types of records. So this is the household record. In Sweden, the priest would go to the homes every year and ask them questions and record any information that changed in the family. If someone was born, someone died, someone moved, that was all recorded. And those, so it's like a census every year. Then this is the book. If they've moved, they had to let them know, and they made note of it and created books. So if they moved in, there's a set. If they moved out, there's a set. This is the birth records. And then this is just the general church record for that parish. So then, let's see, let's do one of these. So then it breaks it into time periods. So now we have location, now we do time. Let's say we want to do this one because it's closest, latest one they have. So then it brings up the film and you can scroll through the film. So when you bring up a film like this, sometimes there's an index at the beginning. For records like land records, there's going to be an index at the beginning because they're not going to be alphabetical. They're going to be by time. They're going to be chronological as they made those records. So sometimes you get an index at the beginning, sometimes you get an index at the end, and sometimes they're alphabetical. And so then you can go through them that way. So you have to think about how that record's been organized. And this one has an index at the front. So it tells you what page to go for the different towns in there. And then zooming in is my favorite thing about digitized records. You can get really close and then you can see the information that you want to see. So that's kind of how you do it for an image only record. Oops.
Hey, Pam, you're making me homesick. Mission sick.
I forgot you were on there, Travis. He lived there for a while, and so I'm always embarrassed about how I mispronounce the Swedish names. But I can imagine you're homesick. It looks like a beautiful place to go. So then the last category is the catalog material. So these are things that are held at the Family History Library. You can go to see all, and it has them in groups. So you pick a topic that you want to look at. Let's do just immigration because it's right here. And that brings up the collections within that category. And then you can click on those. Let's do this one. It says they're available online. So if you click there, it'll take you to the database. Let's go back and find one that's more what we're looking at. Let's try court records. We'll do this one. So they have different films within the collection. These are the 2 films that belong in this collection. Because it has a camera, it means we can view it. So if it had a magnifying glass, it means it's searchable. If it has a camera, we can view the images. If it has a camera with a key, it means there's some restrictions. So you might get that when you're at home. And if you come into the Family History Center, it might have permissions to be viewed at the Family History Center, and then you would be able to open that. The other thing I wanted to note on researching this way is this item number right here. This one is item 1. So it's going to be the first item on the film. This one is item 12. So when we click on the camera, the small thumbnails of the image come up and we see these black ones. Those indicate an item. Actually, on this one, it looks like they're kind of gray. So those are what separates the different documents. Oh, no, they are black. So here's the second one. And we would keep going. There's the third until we get to item 11. Otherwise, if you just click on the first image, it's going to be something totally different from court records. It will be something like an immigration record. It was just the order that they were filmed. So you want to scroll down till you get to 11. And of course, I picked a film that has 1,387 images in it. So we'll be scrolling down for a while to get to 11. So I'm not going to do that. And then gleaning information. When you find someone in a record, let's do just a second. I'm going to go back to my tree. Some of you might have heard this in the ancestry one. We'll pick my great uncle. Oops. Why? That's weird. Let me refresh. There we go. I'm going to pick my great uncle and we're going to search for his birth record. So let's do birth. We don't have the same collection here that Ancestry does. I guess that lets us know why it's important to search all the collections, because some are here and some aren't. Let me try it again, but we'll make it a little more general. Okay. So this is actually a relative from a lad. Okay, and if we click on, that wasn't what I clicked on. That's weird. Let's try that again. Wonder if they're, all right. So instead, this is showing a census record, which is fine. If I click on the collection title, it brings up the church census records, and we can say, I want to see all the ones for Williams's in Malad, Idaho. So you don't necessarily have to put in a first name. If it's a set of birth records, sometimes I don't put in any name at all. I just put in the parents' names and a date range around the time that the person I'm looking at was born, and that'll give me all the siblings for that couple. So this gives me all of the people who were in Malad with the last name Williams on those censuses. And so I can go through and attach them in my tree because I'm probably related to all of them. So any questions? Nope, we good? Sweet. Thank you all for coming today. I hope you learned something new. I hope you go and try it. I do really like searching on FamilySearch through their records. My favorite a lot of times is going into those unindexed records and finding what's not out there and in the book. So
I set up an account spring or something, and I realized I had to start all over entering everything, and I didn't have time to do it.
So on the tree, on the FamilySearch tree, once you connect to a deceased relative, it should propagate everything that's in there about that relative.
Okay, but you have to
You just have
put
to get,
each person in again, just like, you can't bring it over from Ancestry or something.
no, you can't bring it over from Ancestry, but if you go into the tree and let's say there wasn't anything past my grandfather,
Mhm.
and if I added my great grandfather, everything behind him would come in if it's in there.
Okay.
So,
To go to the first person who's possibly.
yeah,
Link you in
and then
first.
it should fill in the, yeah. And
Yeah, I was thinking.
Diane can
I gotta
probably
start
help
all
you.
over again.
No, Diane can probably help you after class. We'll go ahead and close class. Thank you, everyone online who attended.
Thank
Do you
you.
have anything you wanted to say, Tammy?
No, thank you for, that was a great class. I learned some, I mean, I always learn from you, so thank you so much.
Well, and it helps that Family Search changes a lot, so.
I know for sure.
So then we learn something new every time.
I know for sure. Thank you.
Thanks,
All
Jay.
right, you're welcome. You have a good day.
Is there a spot on their website for a tutorial?
Yes.
Okay, where
Yeah.
would you find that?